Back to the Future, Beetlejuice and Waitress. 3 musical theatre tours in Australia that have been cut short this year.
It's a bit of a scary time, if I'm being honest with you.
Producers of Beetlejuice and Waitress have said that rising production costs and low ticket sales have been the reason for the cancellations. These cancellations aren't anything new for Australia, but they don't necessarily reflect on how keen Aussies are to buy tickets to events. According to a survey from Creative Australia, 2025 recorded some of the country's highest attendance of live art events and festivals. We know the cost of living is high. We also know that theatre tickets can be expensive.
I don't think it's reasonable to look at people and be like, why aren't you spending money on theatre? Because it's a lot of money.
This is Julian Kuo, and he spent 4 years in the Australian production of Hamilton.
I'm more than aware that mortgage costs and rent costs and just basic cost of living are getting so high that it is becoming more and more difficult to justify an expense that, the money needs to be used elsewhere.
But not every musical that comes down under struggles financially. The Lion King, The Book of Mormon, Six, and Hamilton have toured Australia multiple times due to proven success and guaranteed ticket sales. I spoke to experts who highlighted 3 key areas that are stopping Australia from growing its musical theatre scene to the point of sustainability. And it starts in childhood.
I would just love to see everyone from such a young age in Australia get the chance to even dip their toe into the arts, whether that's through an accessible format like watching it on TV, or through actually participating in it.
This is Alex, a musical theatre content creator who says that Australia normalises putting young kids into sports, but as soon as you put a kid into drama lessons, for example, they're seen as weird or an outcast.
We can appreciate all of the different facets of our culture here in Australia without diminishing others. So even if we do think that, the arts should be more flourishing, that doesn't mean that we believe that sport should be less so. It's just that everything deserves to have a chance to be put up there so that we can all just find what we're interested in and find what we love.
Access to the arts as a child is really, really important. A person who falls in love with the arts at the age of 15, when they reach 30, 35 and they're in an established career and they're making money and they're growing in success, maybe then that person decides to take their family to 2 shows. That's how we create a marketplace.
In fact, Creative Australia says that art access for children and young people is now Australia's top priority for arts investment, overtaking free or low-cost art events.
I would love to see just the live entertainment industry in general being more open to access points. We need to put it into the education system. We need to make sure that, schools have access to cheaper tickets, or youth tickets are much more affordable, are much more accessible and are more publicized, right? Like, there are so many shows that run under 35 discounts. Very few people know they exist. Arts education is not just about creating the next generation of performers. It's about creating a next generation of audience members who want to come and see things and who love it. Not because they're being dragged to it, not because they're being made to come to it, but because they love it.
So we know shows like The Lion King and Hamilton have returned to Australia. But unlike New York and London, Australia struggles to keep lesser-known shows afloat, as seen with the recent cancellations.
We've fallen into a bit of a revival carousel.
Alex said that marketing is a big hurdle, and something the government could help out with.
It's really hard for people to trust work that they've never heard of before. So when you look at things like Waitress, if you don't know what Waitress is about, especially from the marketing of it, how would you know that the story is about domestic violence and the story is about motherhood and all of these things? You just wouldn't know because you might never have heard of Waitress before. I think that the main thing that we can take away from especially the UK is how much the government truly does appreciate what the arts do for the economy.
In 2024, lobby group Live Performance Australia proposed a tax offset scheme that would introduce a 40% tax offset for the cost of live theatre production. This proposal was based on an existing scheme that the UK introduced in 2014 that allowed theatre companies to claim massive tax reductions to offset production costs. And between 2021 and 2022, it was estimated that £163 million was invested into theatre productions.
In the UK, 40 to 45% of production costs, the taxes from those get reinvested back into theatre, which is amazing. So you're actually putting that money back into this boosting this thing that is so good for the economy and so good for the culture of the country.
Film and TV productions in Australia actually have tax offsets in place.
I think the arts have been used in this country for too long as a photo opportunity. I think the government use us when they want to feel glamorous and when they want to feel special. And then I think when they're not dealing with people who are celebrities and stars, I think that government has lost interest.
I reached out to Arts Minister Tony Burke, and a spokesperson said, consultation and development on the next national cultural policy couldn't be happening at a more important time. Cost of living pressure always has a particular impact on ticket buying in the arts. The impact on live theatre needs to be fully appreciated. In an industry where permanent work is hard to come by, live theatre, and in particular musicals that have longer seasons, are the backbone of secure employment in a notoriously insecure industry. Australia also doesn't have a theatre capital like New York and London. Think of a theatre capital like Hollywood is to film. It's the central place where big movies are shot and where many well-known directors, producers and actors are all based out of. Yes, Sydney and Melbourne run most shows that tour Australia, but those musicals don't start in one city, which is what a theatre capital would serve as.
So many reasons why we shouldn't do that, but at the end of the day, that would make it easier for shows to start with small runs and then extend them, rather than starting with these long runs with these tours around the country and then having to cut them because of production costs. You know, they can kind of work forwards instead of working backwards.
For Julian, he believes that one of the biggest struggles in Australia is that we don't have enough mid-sized theatres, as trying to sell out larger venues brings with it larger costs.
We have these massive, massive, massive spaces. And so in order to cover those costs, those venues are very expensive to run for producers. If we had a couple of smaller spaces, I think we could have more consistent houses, more consistent attendances in terms of numbers in a theatre.
Back in 2024, musical theatre generated more than $531 million in Australian ticket sales across almost 4.4 million attendances, making it the country's second largest live performance category. But even as more people attended musicals more than the year before, revenue still fell. So the issue isn't that Australia have completely abandoned musical theatres. Millions of people are still buying tickets. The challenge is creating an industry where that demand can sustain a wider range of new and upcoming shows rather than only the biggest and safest productions. Despite the hurdles, Alex and Julian are optimistic about the future of musical theatre in Australia, saying that it's only going through its transitional phase that will hopefully pass. But it will take more than just funding to get the industry back up on its feet.
I think Australia has some of the best of the world's performers. I think we are some of the greatest performers on earth. Because when those opportunities come up, we grab them with both hands because we don't get them every day. I think that with smaller theatres, and if we brought in more Australian work and we were telling stories of our own, and theatre can diversify in that way, I think there's a future. I don't want to be downbeat about it. I don't want to look at this being like, oh no, tragedy, woe is us. I think there is a future. I just think that we have to, like every other industry, move with the times and modernise.
Our art scene is so beautiful, and I think we need to find a way to take these ideas from other countries' art scenes and learn from them, whilst also upholding the integrity of our really unique and beautiful Australian art scene.